Oh, you're doing the fist today. Okay, there you go. The fist. Welcome. It has been a while, my friends. This is the AI Business Network live podcast. We are so excited to be back live and in charge. My name is Jonathan Carford, aka Coach K. This is my man, Jonathan Moss, aka JMO. And we get to go live. It's been a while. We've both been traveling, so it's been nice to get back in the seat. And so much stuff has happened in a month. We were just going through the list of stuff. Like, I don't know what we're going to talk about because there's so much stuff to talk about. So we'll do our best. How you doing, my man?
Living my best life, man. And what do you mean a month? You mean in like the last 4 days? I don't even know what happened in the last month. It's been so wild. So, but yes, good to be back in the seat with you, my friend.
Well, let's dig into it. I know, thankfully, JMO is always prepared and always creates a docket. So let's go over this stuff today. What do we have cooking? Besides, by the way, let's go over some of the things. We have Claude 4.5 is released. We have Sora 2 that's out. We have the Pulse from OpenAI. DeepSeek came out with their latest model. You have Mr. Yosemite came out with their own thing. Like, there's so much stuff happening. It's crazy. Bolts came out their Agent 2 for their Bolt product, which is amazing. So much stuff. It's crazy.
It's just happening all over the place. And not to mention, one of the things we'll talk about today too with OpenAI is the commerce in chat. I mean, what a disruptive potential force. And probably hold this for next one, but I just got to mention it. The whole Grokipedia thing, like what?
Right? I know, right?
All right,
it's all fascinating.
Let's jump in. Okay, let's start with a slew of releases from OpenAI this week and over the last few days. So you mentioned a few of those. We've got Chat GPT Pulse. We've got commerce in chat. Parental controls, great. Thank you very much. That's awesome. I appreciate that for sure, especially with our kids. So that's going to be very important for us. And then Sora 2 plus the Sora app. So in case you all live under, haven't really caught up to this because it's hard to keep up with even if you don't live under a rock. Chat GPT Pulse, excuse me. So basically what they're doing now is they're like creating these like proactive research cards on mobile. So it is on mobile only. And I believe right now it's only for pro users because it's a preview. But basically what it's doing is it's pulling from chats, calendars, feedback, etc. And it's basically pulling articles and creating articles around your preferences, around the things that you're searching for. I've actually found some value in it, but I also think what's interesting here is I believe this is an early play at monetization of ads. So we can dive into that just in a little bit. The second thing that they did was commerce in chat. So to me, this could be a big disruptor. I mean, you think I should have checked the stats. Actually, I'm going to ask real quick while we're doing this. How many weekly users does Chat GPT have now? So while that pulls, what they did was they're using this agentic commerce protocol with Stripe, and they've actually signed some early partnerships with Etsy as well as Shopify. So big players in commerce. And
that's cool because that's like one-on-one products. That's really cool. Okay.
One-on-one products, yeah, and even for small businesses and stuff too. Imagine that. I mean, getting that distribution that's hard for you to get inside of Google. Okay, so it's saying it's still about 700 million. So that's the last figure I had too. Okay, so imagine bringing commerce to 700 million chat where you can buy and transact without having to leave. I mean, what a disruptive force in commerce. Parental controls, so those are pretty self-explanatory, so we don't have to go into that. And then Sora 2 plus app. So now this new model is really driving, not only an upgrade to what videos can be created, but also the app is more of a TikTok style app where you can create. We were actually just talking to Andy, who created one I showed you before we jumped on. But these like cameos.
Shout out Andy, that was awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah,
really cool video.
yeah, very very cool. So now they're getting into the whole like social commerce pie. So in just one release cycle in the last week, they're going after news and ads. They're going after commerce, and they're going after TikTok and social. I mean, I'm just mind blown. So what are your initial reactions and thoughts here to like all of these releases? And these are some big markets that can be disrupted by the amount of users that they have and what they're releasing.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, what reminds me of is when the buzz last week was when they're talking about OpenAI creating a LinkedIn competitor, because Sam talked about making a LinkedIn competitor, So it's almost like they're trying to carve out this very, I don't know if it's a niche, but it seems like there's different pieces of the pie, So OpenAI is taking this e-commerce, which it's interesting. It's Etsy and Shopify, because that's very individual shop-based type of use cases versus like an Amazon or Walmart, So this level of thing is fascinating because that's like it seems to be their use case, because when you use the AI agent for OpenAI, it's very much a personal AI agent. I can't use it for very much for business, but for personal, it's awesome, So like that's them. And then you look at Gemini, or I should say Gemini, Google has this whole suite of amazing AI products, but a totally different feel. Like Notebook, no one has anything like Notebook LM right now in the other two categories. You know what I mean? Then they have Google just released the other day. I can't remember what it's called, but you can make like workflows by prompting through Google. They have the Google Fire Studio, which is like kind of like a cursor competitor. Like Google's making this really, really cool suite of products that's, like, again, way different than everybody else. And you have Claude, who's making more of this kind of coding logical data analysis brain, So it's interesting to see that they compete, but they're also very different in their pieces. You know what I mean? It feels like that to me anyways. So
yeah, is it Opal?
Opal,
Google?
yes, Opal.
Opal?
Yes, Google Opal. Yep.
Thank you, Chat GPT, for being able to
Thanks.
answer.
Thanks for talking about Google Chat GPT. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is very interesting because I do feel, especially with these announcements from OpenAI this week, they're very, very focused on consumer, it seems, even though they've kind of pushed the boundaries and saying they're really attacking enterprise still and that's kind of thing. But I'm wondering if they're actually seeing something in their data or whatnot. Because to your point, what you just talked about with Claude 4.5, which we can get into in a second, or actually we talk about now some of the things, but with Claude 4.5 and kind of where Claude has focused, they've really focused on coders, and 4.5 is like I think it said like 30 out. They completely extended their context window. Thank you for finally doing that, because I kept running out of chats and stuff, and it really
drove me crazy.
It drove me crazy and made me almost stop using it. And then 30 hours of straight coding. I mean, that's insane. 30 hours. And then to your point on Google, going for workflows, going for kind of, Notebook LMs used a lot in like education, students. You use it all the time. I use it all the time if we're, trying to learn something or use something and training and stuff. So, I mean, there's so many different things, but they're all obviously it seems like they're going, to your point, after different pieces of the pie on business, personal, etc. So it is very interesting to watch. Almost like they're trying to carve out their own niche.
Something. Yeah, there's obviously gonna be some overlap, but there's definitely differences. I'm just waiting for who's going to try and take it on the business lens, which seems more and more it's Claude, because Claude, by the way, just released their Slack integration, which is awesome so far. So like it's just they're going more of the business technical stuff, and I don't see OpenAI combining with Slack. Maybe it's because OpenAI wants to have their own Slack integration. Like, how cool would it be to have a Slack-like experience inside of an AI prompt, right? You and I could like communicate inside of a chat with AI, just kind of geek out and stuff. That'd be so awesome. But you can't do that, So I think it'd be fun.
I think so too. Well, actually, interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw this or not, because it kind of was hidden. It's kind of interesting. It kind of was hidden, and I actually didn't even realize that it got announced. So, but did you see that OpenAI did announce some agents that they're producing, including a GTM assistant one that could potentially work within Slack, as for like pre-sales calls and stuff like that. They talked about an inbound sales assistant, kind of a DocuPT.
Yeah,
DocuSign,
I haven't seen
and
all.
then also
I saw the GTM one, but I haven't seen the other one. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. So they announced a few of them. So it's kind of interesting. So, I guess in the same turn, going for some of these B2B, but potentially going in a different way with these agents. I mean, and look, and they said that they were going to do this, and they showed one off. Man, that was a long time ago, because actually I was living in Texas when they showed off I think it was the inbound sales assistant at some conference that got leaked.
Yeah, that was in Japan with OpenAI.
Japan.
That was
Yeah. There you go.
Ago. Yep.
Exactly. And that was forever ago, and you haven't really heard anything about it. So it kind of just lingered, and we were like, okay, are they doing it or not doing it? And then now you've got it poking up again, but I didn't see any pricing. I didn't see a big announcement about it or anything like that. So I guess more to come.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting, to your point, like just to see each one of these companies are trying to carve out their own like niche and trying to find ways to embed themselves in our lives. And they're doing a pretty dang good job of it, I think.
I have, what's funny is I think you and I talked about this once, but I talked to a guy who's consulting Salesforce, and one of the things he was talking about was the battle of UX, of how the new AI world, you think about Claude with all their connectors in the background, you can connect your calendar, your Gmail, your Canva, all your stuff. And so you interact with these tools via Claude, and ChatGPT is doing the same thing. So you have that experience. But in the AI agent world, most people that I know of are using Slack as the go-between for agents to talk. So Slack becomes the mastermind place of all the AI agents to talk. So you have this UX experience because everyone's sick and tired of having 15 bajillion tabs open to do the work. Instead of having one place you can guide all your AI agents or AI technology, do whatever thing. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see who can adopt or adapt to that kind of style, so that you can only have one place to go and then everything runs from one command center UX, So.
Yeah. And this is actually, so we didn't have this on the docket. Actually, we had it on one of the dockets that we couldn't do because of our schedules. Yeah. But I think it's a fascinating topic to kind of, discuss briefly, which is what you just said, this kind of fight or battle for the glass or whatever you want to call it. I mean, and you think about the Atlassian acquisition of the browser company who has Arc. And so this is a big, these are big plays, to your point, which is there's a lot of people trying to fight over the attention that they have when we're, online. And the battle of to your point, the battle of where do I go? Is it Slack? Is it a browser? Is it where am I going to? Is it the new glasses? Yeah. Where am I going for my work? Whoever wins that, really wins the game, right? Because to your point, no one's going to go tab to tab to tab. They're just going to go into a chat and ask, and all these agents are going to be in the background being able to do things again, whether you're in Slack or whether you're in some other, UX UI. So I think it's super interesting. And Perplexity, again, this is not on the docket, but it's been a while and a lot of things have happened. But not only did they have released the Comet agentic browser, a few months ago, but also they just launched an email assistant. So now they have awesome, browser to email. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, again, fighting for where are you at the most, your browser and email. And so trying to be that unified UX, I do think, I do think that you're going to see these battles continue and more players enter. So I don't know what your, what your thoughts are there, but I think that's the winner plays in that space for sure.
Yeah. I mean, besides what we said, no, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Cause I do think it's going to start again. Marvel's always my inspiration. Cause you think about his world of like, he was just in his house talking, doing his thing, and he didn't have an interface. It was just the voice,
just a voice.
So that's what I think will be interesting. Is like seeing when do we have to have a screen and just eliminate it altogether, which just becomes an interface with voice, So I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, look, I would love that because I have found myself, I don't know about you, but I've actually, I've been using, I tested for a while, Willow and Whisperflow. And basically I now have I believe if you were to look at my time typing versus speaking, I bet you I'm probably 60-40 now speaking. And because I mean, it's just so much more convenient for me. I can just like, hit a short key. I got, a hotkey. I hit it.
Yep.
It's on. I'm just talking and it does what I need it to do wherever I need it to do it. I'm like, why do I even type anymore? And so it's kind of like this, to your point, you're leading me down that path with your, the Marvel and Jarvis is like, I just want to wake up and talk and say things. And then my computer or my agents or whatever, do what I'm asking. And that's the world that it's starting to become or will become eventually, I think. So,
yeah, man, I dig it. Let's keep going.
All right, let's go. All right. So, we've talked a little, so I'm curious about OpenAI, but let's talk about Claude 4.5. So just announced a new model, as Claude does, and they're calling it the best coding model in the world. and the strongest model for building complex agents. So super interesting. Two things that Claude has been at the forefront of, especially for those of you that remember, they created kind of the MCP, which is being able to connect agents. They have Claude Code, which is almost the go-to de facto if you're not using Cursor or something like that, like Claude Code. And actually, I believe you may know. I have to look this up and verify, so I apologize, Cursor, if I'm wrong, but I believe Cursor uses Claude.
They do
for coding.
Back end.
Okay.
So does
So
Windsurf does too now, and then like even in GitHub's I think the default usually is Claude, so it's usually Claude in the back end. But
so they're everywhere with this, and that's kind of the niche that they're kind of carving for themselves. So a couple things about the new model: it's got extended autonomy. So 30 hours, I mentioned this earlier, can sustain 30-hour coding. Imagine having going to bed, waking up, and probably going back to bed maybe in that time frame, and having this agent's just coding for you for 30 straight hours. And so it's leading on the benchmarks. They got an agent SDK that they released, and crazy enough, they didn't change the price for this because their price went down. So it's a more efficient model. So I know you're a big Claude fan. You probably use it a little bit more than me, but any thoughts here on kind of how Claude is evolving its models and where it's headed and how you're using it?
It's been interesting because the connections and what it can do. Like I had the connections hooked up with Gmail and Canva and some other things before 4.5, obviously. And I was like, this is okay. I played with them a little bit and it was all right. And I have a couple other MCP connections to other tech. But ever since 4.5 came out, I don't know what's happening in the back end, but it's executing and getting things done way better than before, because I found myself having to explain over and over the same thing I wanted before I got it fixed. And this time I can ask once and it's done. So I don't know what happened again. Something smarter in the back end, because I don't have to redo things. Even with advanced prompting in the first part of my prompt, it's way more robust. We're able to do things with other connections. And then internally with the artifacts, like the artifacts I'm getting out now are just like way better. Like how we got the from Azzy was telling us about different design things, like it almost like cues you to say what kind of designs if you want now, which is really nice, so that you can make these really good looking artifacts that are more experiential without having to know all the design things you may need to know before, so it's been really, really cool. It's like you can start seeing these incremental shifts and moves as you go. For me, I can sense and see it. And then I feel like we're like right around the corner, like maybe 3 or 6 months before we're able to do some really, really cool front end and back end coding all through Claude, so that's what I'm really geeking out about. Cause like example, Bolt has now made their agent 2, which is doing literally back end and front end vibe coding, just using code. But seeing what Claude 4.5 is able to do, like we're just right on the corner, be able to make some pretty robust tech with just prompting, which is insane,
Well, it's been stated for a while, even for those that have, are the actual smart ones in AI. Not that means not you or I, the ones that actually
we're nerds. We're self-professed nerds here. Okay, we're not the experts.
Yeah. But the ones that actually are building and coding these things, they're like, the new coding language is natural language, and that's where it's headed. And so to kind of see this stuff start to take fruition, I mean, you and I have been playing around, and like you said, self-proclaimed nerds since circa November 2022, or maybe a little bit before that.
3 years, yeah.
And so it is interesting. So I like the design element though, because I think that's the thing a lot of people struggle with, including myself. And it's one of the reasons why I lean towards Lovable more than I do Claude. So I like Claude for certain types of artifacts, but if it's something that I really want a really strong design on or something, I just go to Lovable, because I don't have to, it kind of knows to do this. So I'm actually interested, now you've piqued my interest, to do some things in Claude on the artifacts and kind of see how the design has changed now with 4.5, because that was one of the only things. I love the output that I was getting. It was just the design was kind of like, it's good for just using, but if you're like want it to look professional, it's a little bit more, it's a little tougher. You got to prompt it to do that. So
well, and part of that goes into the system prompts and things inside of Lovable that Claude doesn't have, because Claude's trying to be more of a broad use tool, whereas Lovable is very, very specific, so it's like there's strengths and weaknesses to each one. But I think what will be fascinating, because my sister was just asking me this question yesterday. I was telling about the update, which is funny. She's not in AI at all. So she was just asking, what's the latest? I'm like, this new tool is so awesome. So anyways, we were just talking about it, and she was like, so I was telling her about how some point in the future, we're going to live in this existence where instead of going to Google and saying, what technology can I buy that can do this? It's going to be going to Lovable or Claude or somebody saying, create me this technology that does this for me. So it's going to be very specific and customized to me. I think where the magic is going to happen is when it requires some form of domain expertise. It's kind of like you and I with design. I'm not a designer, so I don't have that domain expertise, but a domain expertise person in design creating an app would do a way better job because they know all this other stuff that I don't know. Even if I knew to ask AI saying, become a designer expert and blah, blah, blah thing, I could do an okay job, but I won't do as good as someone who's been designing for 20 years, UX stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think the magic's still going to come down to the human with a domain expertise of certain kind who can amplify their talent and genius through AI that you can't get by just me prompting and asking it to be the same persona. You know what I mean? So,
right. I agree. And I think this is where, once we get into the agentic place that we're obviously we're getting there, but agents are still not just like off the shelf. I can just go use them. You either have to create them or you have to connect them. There's other things that a lot of people have to do that just kind of keeps it from what would I say, mass adoption across everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's not Chat GPT like adoption just yet. It'll get there though,
right?
And so I think of this, world where, just as you kind of mentioned with, I'm not a designer, but guess what, I can have a designer agent if I'm not even in Lovable, even if I'm in Claude or some other place. I have a designer agent that can just take my thoughts, my whatever, and then turn it into a great design because that's what it's trained to do, and that's not my skill set. And so it's almost like, back when, as leaders, we always used to say you hire people that make up your deficiencies, because everyone has proficiencies, competencies, and deficiencies, right? We all do. And so no one's perfect, maybe unless you're, well, actually probably nobody. So I'm not even go anywhere that say anyone is perfect. They all have your challenges. And so ultimately
stuff, man.
you hire people. And so now what you can do is like do the same thing, but create agents that can fill in some of those gaps for you. But that allows you to use your creativity, your expertise, those types of things, and spend more time there and less time on all the other stuff trying to make up for those when you're creating or when you're trying to build something. So I think it's a fascinating world we're going to be able to be in here pretty soon. So
yeah, man, it's like, that's the question I have, is like, if you had an agent, like for example, have an AI who's like the best designer, train all the best designers, UX, blah blah blah, who could theoretically do that. It's like the whole who's the guy? There's a story once upon a time of a guy who used to build railroads, and he took on a train and he beat it. Remember this? Who is that? What's that story? Dagnabbit. I used to know the story by heart as a kid because I loved it so much. It was this big black guy who used to pound in the pins for railroads. What's that story called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It was like, it was man versus machine, and he beat it, but he died at the end. It was so sad. But he's like this big, bulky, like superhero looking dude, It was awesome. Anyways, it reminds me of that, thinking like, is there ever going to be a time where when AI is like 10 times, 100 times our IQ and can design all this stuff, will that take over someone who has this deep domain expertise? Like, again, I don't know the answer to this question. Maybe, possibly, but still, I just feel like this innate creativity, the things that are uniquely human, can't be replaced. No. I just am holding to that. I think AI can become a separate entity, just like you and I don't replace you. You don't replace me. We're just separate entities, and AI will become a different entity. It will just do its own thing. It's not going to replace it,
right.
So,
so it's John Henry, by the way, and I don't know how
John Henry. Thank you.
Yeah. And, I should know that even more being a Tennessee Titans fans.
I was gonna say you're in the South. That's where it came from.
It's where it came from, and we used to have Derrick Henry, which I'm sad that we ever traded him. So I should know this. But yes, John Henry was that, and what's interesting about, where was I going with this? What's interesting about something that you said, and something that I actually just read, and I was about to post in our nerd channel, but I didn't get a chance to because I had to go get my son. But there's a report that actually came out, and so you may or may not have seen it. So I'm not going to ask any questions about it until you actually get to it. But basically, it's a Yale report. So Yale from the Bridge Lab launched a report. And it's on AI's impact to the labor market. And what they took it, I actually put it in a notebook, LM. So for those of you, so that's how I learn things. And basically what it was is basically evaluating the impact of the labor market stability
Oh, I
with
know, yeah.
AI. And so they took OpenAI usage results and Claude's usage results, and they basically looked at kind of trends around, is AI actually disrupting or taking roles? And what's interesting about this, now we'll caveat this, it's based on Claude's data or Anthropic's data and OpenAI's data, which isn't as robust as it should be right now. So take this for what it's worth. I'm not saying this is the case, but ultimately what they found is that there hasn't been any sort of economy-wide disruption or acceleration to the rate of change of jobs. In fact, we're pretty much in a stability of jobs right now, even before AI, even before 2022 and AI. So it's kind of interesting. There are job switches, but overall, as the labor market is going, there's not like job loss. And so, to your point, I agree, because this has been a long time debate. Again, though, we are in the early innings, so we don't know the true power and what the end looks like of this technology. But at least right now, it doesn't look like there's any exposure yet to a complete job loss. And I think that we'll be on this trend for a while at least, as far as it augmenting us, it doing things that we don't want to do or can't do, versus it actually replacing things that we do today. So anyway, so check that report out. Maybe it's something you get some time on, and we can jam back and forth on.
Yeah, dude, I like it.
Okay, so let's see. We got DeepSeek releasing a new model. So kind of China isn't slowing down either, which is obviously super interesting, but also super scary too, because we've got a lot more restrictions and laws and governance than they do. But DeepSeek has always been this model that kind of just came out of nowhere, but actually was when it came out better than. Which O was it? Was it 03? It was better than when it first came out. And then 04 dropped like right after it, but it was as good as 03. It was like half the cost. And so you kind of seen how cheap it can be, but you can get good reasoning. So they've released their new one, and they've dropped their price again. So how do you look at DeepSeek? I'm just curious, like, do you use it? Do you have any concerns? How's its performance? But I don't know if you've used it at all, but what do you think about it?
I was actually using it a ton on my personal phone, that kind of stuff, originally. And then my internal person at Momentum, our security guy, was like, if you have DeepSeek on your phones, get it off right now. And I was like, okay. So ever since then, I was like, all right. Because like he's not the kind of guy who would just say stuff. I know security people are like careful anyways, but this particular guy, he's very, very laid back. For him to say, get that shit off your phone, I was like, got it. And which makes me sad, because I actually really like the model. Like, the usage of it is awesome. DeepSeek's a great model. But it's just the data security that he was mainly concerned about, so we don't use it with Momentum. I'm so sad, because I actually liked it a lot from an answer point of view. So I actually used DeepSeek through another tool called Magi, MAGAI, because they use different. It's a multi-model AI. You can access any like video, image, whatever. It's awesome. Founder's a stud. Anyway, so I access through there because it goes through their US servers to clean the data. So I'm protected from a data security side, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
Anyways,
makes sense.
If it answers your question, I like it. It's just like I don't use it natively anymore, sadly. So
yeah, and I think that's going to be I think that's the challenge, right? Especially with the Chinese models. But then even, we were in I actually told you this yesterday, but we were teaching a workshop in Pavilion, and we had someone there, and they couldn't even get AI at all, regardless of if it was native or not, like Gamma, for example, which is probably like the one tool that doesn't have a lot of issues. You don't think it's like just this PowerPoint creator, but this is the problem, that we have, and it's not new, right? I mean, when we went from on-prem to cloud, they experienced the same thing. So it's just going through the cycles, making sure that you've got the right security and governance set up for your internal and your IP and all those types of things. But the Chinese obviously are going to get. I don't know that we can't use one either, so I don't know that it's going to be something that gets good use here anyway. So. Yeah, all right, let's end on this one. Let's just end like just quickly, and then because I know we are at time, but I'm just curious. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I mentioned it previously. But Musk launching Grokipedia. So apparently, him and a few others are upset about Wikipedia and the way that it's biased, apparently. And so now we are launching an AI powered knowledge base. So all this knowledge is going to be created from AI, which is supposed to be vastly better. How do you feel about, I mean, do you have any thoughts on just in general about Wikipedia versus Grokipedia? I just think we're kind of like going into these real weird realms right now with some of these things, but give me just your initial reaction to this.
I don't know, because I would agree there's definitely some bias to Wikipedia. I mean, there's bias literally to anything and everything. It's just understanding what that is. So I mean, we get to a very philosophical discussion around what is truth when it comes to factual documentation, because like you could ask, it's like going back into the world of like not to get anything too political, but going into slavery. Like there's different options of how people different think about it depending on where you're from, or politics now. Like Trump is another one. Like depending on who you ask, he's the worst person in the world. He's the best. Like it's just like there's bias on both sides. So it's like, how do you train an AI to, number one, understand that, and then find them? I don't know if it's middle ground, but the unbiased view. I don't know that, because my concern would be is if it's a black box of Grok or any AI deciding what a thing should be or not, who's actually determining if that's actually true? Because then you have the people like Facebook fact checkers who have liberal mindsets and want to push a certain agenda. That's not good either. So it's like, who do you trust in these fact checking conversations? Because you can't trust humans because we're biased in every single form, and you can't trust AI because it's biased based on the humans. So it's like, I don't know how it's going to happen, and my concern will be is that people already have a hard time accepting whatever ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, whoever gives them as fact, and it's not, so it's like, I don't know how good it's going to be. That's my only concern, and I love AI, and I'm like, yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm the same way. So it's like, to your point, it doesn't matter if it's AI doing it or a human doing it. There's going to be bias in it because somebody trained the model, and they trained the model in such a way, right? And there's humans that are training the models, and and we are all biased in some sort of way, regardless of which way you lean or anything like that. So, so I do think it's interesting. I don't know why this is the main thing he's focused on when he's building rocket ships and underground transportation and Tesla autonomous cars, and trying to build the Colossus and all these other things. But who knows? So, but I do agree.
He's not on this truth chair. He's been on the truth chair for like a year now, so it's not surprising to me because he's been on this whole thing. So
very true, very true. I think, though, I don't think we're ever going to get the bias out, but I do think there's something interesting here that could be created, and maybe AI could help with this, which is knowing who the fact checkers are or the people that have edited it, and then maybe giving, even if it's anonymous, you don't tell them the name, but you give a little information about the people, like, and you can kind of, and then that way you can understand what are the kind of characteristics or things of the people that have fact checked it, or people that have made edits without knowing who they are. And then you could kind of get a good view of, maybe it is leaning one way or the other. Maybe it could be biased, or no, it's diverse. And so this has been checked by a bunch of diverse, backgrounded people that have different views. And I think that's great. It's how it should be, because then you can kind of get a more well-rounded view. So don't know that that's a solution or not, but I think I think overall being transparent. To your point, you mentioned the black box, being more transparent about what went into creating this fact, so quote unquote fact, and kind of where it came from, I think is very important for all of us.
Yeah, I don't mind that either. What I would love to have is like some sort of, I think AI would be really good about saying, let's just say all the liberal opinions, all the libertarian opinions, or conservative, like whatever opinions they are from whatever someone's talking about, and say, here's the sheer number of this opinion, and here's basically the gist of this opinion. Here's the number of this one. Like it could be a good job of analyzing that, and then saying, based on all these things, here's like some of the core connections between all of them that agree. Because like every liberal I know of, there's like 4 or 5 things we all agree on, even with liberals, and I'm not conservative, I'm more independent, but still there's things I totally disagree with and things I do agree with. And I think sometimes we focus too much politically, news, whatever, on all the differences, that we need to have that kind of source of truth type thing. Yep. I just don't know if that's ever going to be expected from anything that's mass marketed to be If there's gain involved, I have a hard time with that. It's like, it's kind of like the whole journalism thing. I believe in true journalists who are willing to get to the truth, even if it's painful. I don't know if there's an AI that has that same ability, and if I don't know if I trust AI to know that and then not do something stupid with that information to try and fix it.
Yeah.
So
well, and even with journalists now, there's some really good ones out there, but then there's the ones that just chase the headlines. And so I'm going to write whatever story gets the most headline, and that way I make the money or get the views or whatever. And so you're right. It's a problem everywhere. It's not just an AI problem or Wikipedia problem. It's a problem everywhere. And so hopefully though, AI can help at least with some, to your point, transparency or understanding and kind of those things. And I think that's the most important. So,
Agreed.
All right, brother.
Did I lose you? Were you hanging? Sorry, I lost you for a second.
I think it lost me. I guess it's like in the
awkward
outro.
in the outro.
In the outro. All right, man.
See y'all.